In just a few weeks, the latest iPhone version, the iPhone 15, will be officially launched by Apple. According to information from Bloomberg on August 16th, Apple has commenced the production of the iPhone 15 at a facility in India this week. The plant, located in the southern state of Tamil Nadu, will be operated by Apple's manufacturing partner Foxconn. This move is aimed at saving on import taxes, which are exceedingly high for electronic goods in India. With this development, the production of the iPhone 15 is concurrently taking place both in India and China. Throughout its history, the entire iPhone manufacturing process has taken place in China. Apple has gradually shifted more and more of its assembly activities to India, setting forth plans and objectives in this transition. So, what exactly is Apple's strategy in intensifying iPhone production in India and gradually moving its production chain away from China? Does India possess the potential to become a manufacturing hub similar to China, or even surpass China? Let's delve into these questions on today's World Affairs. According to analysts, as Apple undertakes the production of the iPhone 15 in India, the new and crucial iPhone lineup, the company has achieved two primary objectives in this process. Firstly, they aim to expand iPhone production in India from older and less complex models to the latest Pro models. This objective was met last year when India produced the iPhone 14 within a few weeks, similar to China, albeit in limited quantities. Secondly, concerning the production of the iPhone 15, Apple intends to have the assembly process conducted concurrently in both countries, a first in history, placing India on par with China. More specifically, they aim for the iPhone 15 models to be globally shipped from both these nations simultaneously. Experts suggest that Apple's decision to manufacture the latest iPhone models in India primarily stems from the need to address supply chain issues in China. Following the closure of one of Foxconn's significant factories in China due to the COVID-19 outbreak, Apple struggled to meet the demand for the 2022 holiday season, leading to iPhone shortages and weekly customer wait times. According to David Dollar, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, the escalating diplomatic tensions between the United States and China could also play a role in prompting companies to shift their production locations. This issue involves both economic and, to some extent, political considerations. The U.S. government's restrictions on technology related to China have posed challenges to Apple's supply chain. For instance, in October 2022, the U.S. Department of Commerce issued restrictions that prohibited American companies from selling equipment to the Chinese chipmaker Yangtze Memory, a company that Apple was in negotiations with to supply iPhone components. According to Nikkei Asia, following these restrictions, the deal between the two parties fell apart. Apple is not the only company diversifying its manufacturing away from China. Microsoft recently shifted some of its Xbox production lines to India, and Amazon has begun manufacturing Fire TV devices in Vietnam. According to Ben Bajarin, the chief executive of Creative Strategies, a market research and consulting firm, Vietnam is one of the key beneficiaries as manufacturing facilities move away from China. While Apple hasn't disclosed details about manufacturing locations beyond India, Bajarin noted that Apple has facilities in Taiwan, Malaysia, and Vietnam, which could produce a small number of Mac computers but not iPhones. Apple's shift towards manufacturing iPhones in India could also be attributed to the relatively high import taxes on electronic goods in India. The pricing of iPhones produced in China results in significantly higher prices when sold in India compared to the US. The iPhone 14, for instance, was priced at $799 in the US at launch, whereas in India it was priced at 79,900 rupees, equivalent to around $980, which is nearly 23% higher. According to consulting experts, the high price of iPhones has hindered Apple's ability to expand its market share in India, where the company holds around 5% of the market. Manufacturing in India presents a significant opportunity for the company, and Apple views the country's 1.2 billion population as a substantial market, as people will buy phones at any given time, as mentioned by Mr. Bajaran. Apple will need to continue to enhance and invest with manufacturing partners to scale up and create enough devices to meet their demand. The iPhone 15 is expected to be unveiled on September 12, marking one of the most significant updates for the iPhone lineup in the past 3 years. This model will feature an upgraded camera system, and the Pro versions will come with the improved 3nm A16 processor. The new iPhone iteration plays a crucial role in revitalizing Apple's declining sales. In the current month, Apple reported a consecutive third-quarter decline in sales due to weak consumer demand in key markets like the US, China, and Europe. Apple's presence in India has gradually expanded, capitalizing on the financial incentives provided by the government to encourage advanced manufacturing. This has led to a threshold increase in iPhone production in India, surpassing $7 billion in the fiscal year ending in March of this year. After inaugurating its first retail stores in India in April, Apple now considers the Indian market a rapidly developing one and a vital long-term manufacturing base for its devices. In the quarter ending in June, iPhone sales in India achieved double-digit growth, reaching a new high. Apple began manufacturing iPhones in India in 2017, initially focusing on older or more affordable models. The iPhone 14 marked the first time that Foxconn, the manufacturing partner, started producing a new model of the iPhone in India. It is expected that the production of the iPhone 15 will occur at a much higher speed and quantity. In January 2023, India's Minister of Commerce, Piyush Goyal, stated that 5 to 7% of the total iPhones are currently manufactured in India, and Apple's goal is to increase that proportion to 25%. Before the iPhone 14, Apple had only a small portion of its iPhone assembly lines in India, producing less than 6 to 9 months' worth of China's output. However, this gap significantly narrowed last year, and by the end of March, Apple had manufactured 7% of its iPhones in India. One of the constraints in India's manufacturing efforts is the supply of component parts. Apple primarily relies on an extensive network of component suppliers and contract manufacturers. In China, a majority of these suppliers are clustered in Shenzhen and nearby regions, making it relatively straightforward to assemble everything in one place. For India, the vast majority of these components need to be imported and reported. The scale of iPhone 15 production in India will depend on the volume of imported components and the ramping up of production lines at the Foxconn facility on the outskirts of Chennai. As of now, only Foxconn has begun producing the iPhone 15 in India. The iPhone manufacturer Foxconn has announced an initial investment of $700 million this year to build a new plant in Bangalore, a city experiencing a surge of tech company investments in the southern Indian state of Karnataka. However, according to Mr. Dollar, manufacturing in India will still be a relatively small part compared to the scale of production in China. In any supply chain, the production of the iPhone 15 will rely on the availability of imported components as well as the manufacturing process itself. Apple's primary goal by 2025 is to manufacture 25% of its total iPhones in India and subsequently expand to other products such as iPads, Apple Watches, and AirPods. A recent report from DG Times also revealed that Foxconn plans to manufacture AirPods at other facilities in India by 2024, specifically in Hyderabad, Telangana, a location in southern part of the country. There are also sources indicating that Foxconn has invested $400 million to enhance its assembly lines. The current push for production in India aims to balance the scale with China, but until Apple fully stabilizes its iPhone production in India, the manufacturing of other products may follow. Despite diversification, China will continue to be Apple's main manufacturing hub due to lower production costs for iPhones in the country. Mr. Bajarin mentioned that it's very unlikely that Apple will completely shift its production operations away from China. And this has concluded today's program. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you again.